Greetings, fellow Fright Fiends, and thanks for dropping by for part 2 of my Alfred Hitchcock birthday tribute. Again, my friend Jeffrey Hennis asked me to do this. Jeffrey, I hope you're enjoying this tribute video I'm doing to the late great master of suspense. Today would have been his 120th birthday. For this final video for this tribute series, I wanted to talk about a film that surprises me that I've never talked about in nearly 9 years that I've been doing videos here on YouTube. I have talked about the location of the schoolhouse where I have been to several times because Bodega Bay is not that far from me. Even though the schoolhouse is located in the town of Bodega, which is close to Bodega Bay, I have been there. And I did do an on-location video on this back in 2013. So today's video is going to be talking about The Birds, Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, which was his follow-up to Psycho. The character of Melanie Daniels, played by Tippi Hedren, this was her first big movie role. She meets Mitch Brenner, Rod Taylor, in a San Francisco pet store. She eventually decides to follow him to Bodega Bay. They strike up kind of like a little flirting romance. One day, out of nowhere, birds start attacking children at Mitch's sister's birthday party, and before you know it, there's a huge assault of birds on the town of Bodega Bay. The movie stars Tippi Hedren, Rod Taylor, Jessica Tandy, Suzanne Pleshette, Veronica Cartwright, and the screenplay was done by Evan Hunter, based on The Birds by Daphne du Maurier, and it was directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Some trivia for this film: there's no conventional score in this film, so if you listen to the film, you'll notice that it's mostly sound effects. There's no orchestral score. The majority of the birds in the film are real. However, that being said, $200,000 was spent on creation of mechanical birds. The special effects shots of the birds attacking were completed at Walt Disney Studios. And like I was saying, Bodega and Bodega Bay are towns that were combined for the film, so they're really two separate towns that are down the road from each other. The schoolhouse in the film still stands in the town of Bodega. I believe it was turned into a museum at one point, and now there's been times that they think people do tours of it. The house that was next to the schoolhouse was a facade. There is a house there now, but it is not the same one that was used in the film. Some of the Bodega Bay shots were done on a back lot. Rumors that Hitchcock made inappropriate advances toward Tippi Hedren pretty much cloud the film. Hedren was injured during the phone booth attack, where she received cuts to her face from a pane of glass that shattered. And she was also misled about the logistics of the final attack sequence, where she thought mechanical birds were going to be coming at her, and instead Hitchcock replaced them with real ones. A lot of people said that Hitchcock did this because she refused his advances and he kind of tortured her on the set. These allegations have been backed up by were backed up by Hedren's co-star Rod Taylor. Of course, a lot of this came out after Hitchcock had passed away. It's my second favorite Hitchcock film after Psycho, and in fact it scared me more than Psycho, especially seeing this as a little kid. I remember seeing this, I think I saw this before Psycho. I remember seeing it at my grandparents' house when I would stay with them in the summertime. They were watching it, and I had the last attack sequence in the attic when Hedren goes into the attic and is attacked by the birds. That scene traumatized me. I was so scared of birds breaking into my bedroom that night and attacking me. I still remember that, and it's a haunting scene, and the bird attack scenes in this are so well done. People might laugh at them by today's standards, but again, you're going back to the early 60s. They're so well done, and I mean, it's no holds barred. It's gory. I mean, for a 60s film, I mean, this was not, you know, the kids were getting attacked and people were having their eyes gouged out. I mean, it's some gory stuff for a Hitchcock film, and it's really well done and really well paced, and you just feel the terror of not being able to understand why this is happening and not being able to stop what's happening. The scene, the attack on the Tides restaurant, that is a horrific scene. And I also love the use of matte paintings. Albert Whitlock was brought in to do matte paintings. There's a lot of really cool overhead shots when Melanie Daniels is in the boat and she's going out to where Mitch Brenner lives, and you see the whole town behind her. That's a matte painting. The scene where the gulls are above the gas station that's blown up, when the birds attack diner and the townspeople, and you see the birds just hovering over where the fire is. That's all a matte painting. Just absolutely beautiful. I loved Albert Whitlock. He did some amazing stuff. He did John Carpenter's The Thing. He did Psycho 2. Many more that I just can't think of off the top of my head, but just an amazing artist. But I think Tippi Hedren does a fantastic job in this film, and Rod Taylor, I loved him as Mitch Brenner. I liked their their kind of flirty little romance that they have. But Suzanne Pleshette was gorgeous. I thought she was just so sultry and beautiful as the school teacher who had a former fling with the Mitch Brenner character, and you can see that there's that sexual tension there. I love how that was done. Jessica Tandy, of course, I loved her, and she was great as Mitch's mom. Veronica Cartwright is a amazing icon from Alien, but she was great as Mitch's younger sister. And the ending is so bleak, where they just drive away and the birds have just completely surrounded Bodega Bay at that point, and you just watch them drive away. And it originally, there was supposed to be a longer ending where they kept going and they just kept seeing, you know, more destruction from the bird attacks. There was also, and it's funny, it was the week that this aired that I was talking about in my previous video, where Rear Window and Psycho and The Birds were all done on this Hitchcock week. They showed a bunch of his popular films, and this was the last one they showed. And the imagery that they used for this was the Golden Gate Bridge, and they show it engulfed in birds. And I don't know, I've never seen that image again. The host for the show at that point was saying that that was the original ending, that Mitch and Melanie and everybody that survived the attacks in Bodega Bay were going to get to San Francisco and see that it was too late, that the Golden Gate Bridge was going to be completely engulfed in birds, and that the birds, you know, the bird attacks had come to San Francisco. And the reasoning why was that Hitch didn't want to show that bleak of an ending. There is a original ending on this, and it's not something that was shot, but they go through the screenplay of what would have happened after the last frame of this film. So yeah, I can't say enough great things about The Birds, and like I would like to go back to the schoolhouse eventually, because it's so cool being there, because I mean, it's painted and everything, it looks different, but it's still on that sort of isolated road next to that church that you can see in the film, and it's just so cool being there. It's still got this old quality to it, this sort of haunted looking schoolhouse that's so iconic in this film. So I'd love to go back there and check it out again. But really enjoy this film. It will easily always be the scariest Hitchcock film for me, and one of my absolute favorites. So that is it. So I hope everyone enjoyed this little tribute to the master of suspense, talking about his film The Birds. And in the previous video, if you didn't check that out, there's a part 1 to this series where I talk about his other iconic film, Rear Window. Thanks so much everyone for watching this, and Jeffrey, thanks so much for suggesting that I do this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everyone else enjoyed watching it. Having a blast doing these videos, and might be quiet for a little while because I'm working on my book right now, but I promise you there's some real cool stuff coming up very, very soon. So take it easy, stay scared as always. I have a Patreon page. If everybody wants to help support me, the link is down below. And if you do help support me, Dracula here will get more treats, and Dracula really loves his treats. So any support that you can give me would be very, very much appreciated. Right, Drac?